Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next session at Digital Virtuosity. Hope your day has been going well so far. We've got some exciting content for you here and for the rest of the day. Thank you for joining us. We're here with Ben Thomspon from Bluestem Brands. He is going to present on next level customer insights using a CDP for NPS, ML, Omnichannel, and more. Well, Ben, super excited to hear what you have to say, so take it away.
Great. Thanks a lot, Matt. Hi, everybody. I'm Ben. Thanks a lot for having me today. Thanks for Tealium for inviting me to chat. As Matt said, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the next level of our CDP usage. So we're talking about things like Net Promoter Score, machine learning, stacking data sources, all sort of the next use cases that we've come up with. So hopefully we can enjoy ourselves there. A little bit about me. I live outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota with my wife and 3 kids. I've got a 7, a 5, and a 2-year-old. So we are rarely, if ever, bored around the Thomspon house. I've been doing about 15 years now working with e-commerce data. I enjoy it, and I'm a little bit nerdy, and I get made fun of sometimes, but it's what I do. Also, I love hockey. Hockey is back now. Last time I spoke at TV, hockey was in shutdown mode. So I'm very glad the Minnesota Wild are doing well. We're in playoffs. I do, however, miss my backyard rink, which has now melted. So I spend a good chunk of the winter out there and enjoy myself with the kids. A little bit about Bluestem Brands. Bluestem is based just outside of Minneapolis in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. We've got offices all over the U.S., Minnesota, California, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. We were founded in 1910, our oldest brand, and then Fingerhut, our second oldest and largest brand, was founded in 1952. So we've been around for quite a while, not always as Bluestem Brands, but our different brands have some history behind them, which is kind of fun. We've got about 3,000 employees across our 5 retail brands. All of those have websites. We've got a mobile app that we run. And my group oversees all of the data collection, distribution, and analysis of that data. So we, of course, use a suite of Tealium products like IQ, AudienceStream, and Predict to gather all of that data, act on it, and soon make some machine learning decisions on it. Most of the content that you'll see today is from our largest brand, which is called Fingerhut. Fingerhut is a largely credit-based retailer. So the customers apply for our proprietary credit product and then can purchase from us and make low monthly payments for those purchases. So we sell everything from towels and sheets to washers, dryers, and even wedding rings if you're looking for something for that special someone. And then you can pay monthly, and we help folks kind of rebuild their credit doing that while they're getting the things that they and their family need. All right, so as I mentioned, I talked last year at DV about getting off the ground with a CDP and getting everything really started. I wanted to, take today's presentation and kind of go next level with that. So last year, as a short review, we talked about getting buy-in across the organization. Who you might need to go to, what detractors might you need to turn into fans. We talked about getting that killer use case that can really get CDP off the ground as an idea in your organization. We went through the onboarding process and how the Tealium team helps everything get set up, what you can do with the steering committee and your team internally, getting a quick win to get some more fans right off the bat, and then finally having a business as usual running your CDP as an integral part of your day-to-day operations. And then also between now and then, there was that pandemic thing that happened. I don't know if you heard about it. It impacted a few things that we might touch on today. So next, going above and beyond. I'd like to chat a little bit about getting beyond revenue driving with the CDP and really impacting the customer experience, and some of which gets measured through our NPS, other customer feedback sources, and getting beyond just the sales funnel for our customers through the CDP. We'll also talk a little about stacking data sources and getting all of the data both in and out of your CDP that you can activate on and make some truly great experiences for your customers. We'll go omnichannel, again, making great experiences in the right place at the right time using all of that data. And finally, we are newly onboarding Predict. And so I'll talk a little bit about getting predictive with our CDP experiences. All right, so moving beyond revenue, We've got our proprietary credit product at Fingerhut, as I mentioned. And aside from our typical shopping funnel, there's also a credit journey that people go through with us. So you're going to get approved for our credit product. We hope you use it and activate and purchase something with it. As you pay off your line, if you have a good payment history, et cetera, we'll give you line increases. Sometimes you might become pretty highly utilized, so we might want to make an experience for you there. Sometimes you may not utilize it at all. There's some experiences for you there. These are all huge opportunities to keep the communication lines open with the customer. And again, not necessarily driving revenue, but creating a strong relationship and making sure that that credit is being used wisely, and that the customer is always having a great experience with us as we lead them through the journey. Also, beyond revenue, we really want to make sure that we're meeting our customer in their preferred mode of communication. So we don't want to bombard everybody through every possible means all of the time. So some of the customizations that we can make in AudienceStream include cooldowns on certain channels, as well as filtering messages right down to the right channel at the right time. So we've got things like our mobile app and push messages, of course, email. We've got a lot of phone and non-digital customers who have a preference for offline. We use SMS, and then of course there's advertising preferences and legal concerns to keep in mind. So what's really key to create here is a channel agnostic view of our customer. We often build up our customer views channel by channel and vendor by vendor as we add that capability, right? So you bring on an email vendor, you bring on an SMS vendor, et cetera. You're building these siloed views of the customer. But we kind of toss that idea out in exchange for one view of the customer in AudienceStream, which gives us a lot tighter control over the messaging that we're going to give out at any given time. So next, I'll chat a little bit about Net Promoter Score. NPS has been around for a really long time. It seems to be making a kind of resurgence as of late in how customers or how companies are measuring the customer experience. At Bluestem, we've actually made increasing our Net Promoter Score a corporate goal. So just as important as revenue, EBITDA, bottom line, we really want to make sure our customers are having a fantastic experience with us. So to improve it, we've put in place a few protocols for proactively contacting customers and building streams that can alleviate hiccups in their relationship with us. So for instance, we've started using AudienceStream to trigger off push notifications to our customers from our mobile app. We find that people who are using our mobile app are some of our stickiest customers, and we just want to increase that stickiness and that great relationship that we have with them through that channel. Again, not just for sales and coupons and that sort of thing, but for relevant status notifications to our customers. So things like, hey, we've got your order, it shipped, or maybe, you know what, the FedEx guy didn't show up today, so your shipment's delayed. I would much rather know that ahead of time than have to call up and say, hey, where's my shipment? Wait on the phone or go through the IVR, that sort of deal. Those are the sort of hiccups we're trying to alleviate with customers by doing these sort of triggered streams. So these notifications are super powerful. They take involvement from multiple teams to set up, but ultimately take a lot of weight off of those teams. So for instance, like I mentioned with the delayed shipment, that's something that involves our operations team, certainly involves customer service when people are reaching out, marketing team getting in touch with those people. And we've taken all of those streams and made one solid communication to the customer, which we think is pretty valuable. There you go. You'll get an app notification that your shipment was delayed. We're also actively looking for poor experiences that customers may have and trying to turn them into opportunities for us to improve. We know we don't do everything perfect. And as we compete with the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world, we need to be a little bit better in the customer experience when we can't always compete on price or the convenience that sometimes they can offer. So for instance, we might take users of a certain piece of functionality on the site or people who fit a certain segmentation and actively solicit their feedback via on-site surveys, which is then delivered back to our UX and product teams, all with first-party data to support it, directly connected, so we can either watch the user session or maybe even reach out to that customer for a follow-up and see what went wrong or what their opinion of their experience was. We also use the connection between Content Square and AudienceStream to look for things like rage clicking and frustration. So somebody's just clicking the same thing over and over because they can't get it to do what they want. That's something we can fire off a signal for. We could pop a chat, a survey, again, flag that user or session and dive in and review what was going wrong for them. Finally, we're working on problems that all retailers have, right? Like out of stock. We're trying to make lemonade out of lemons in these sorts of situations. We've all been shopping, couldn't find the size, color thing that we wanted. What we're trying to do at Fingerhut is create a stream for our customers to let them know when that item has returned, or at least give them a discount or something like that when they return to us, even if they don't have that same item. So lots of retailers do this. But a lot of it's running through disparate systems, running off of cookies, third-party data, et cetera. And where we feel like we're differentiated is that we're using all first-party data in real time to do this. So we can really know with certainty that we're getting the right consumer in the right place, again, through the right channel that they prefer. And that it's not going to all fall apart when Google Chrome changes the rules of their browser and how they handle cookies. So next, stacking data sources. One of the other areas that we're going next level with is getting more and more data into AudienceStream. Because it is the hub of many of our communications and experiences, it's really important that we give it as much data as possible about our customers, about their transactions, again, about their shipments, et cetera. So as you can see kind of what we built here, we've got our base data layer that's going into the Tealium collect tag. We've got our file imports where we're sending in customer data. We've got other vendor signals that Tealium's got some good relationships with other vendors, so they have direct connections. All of these we're building on as time goes on. So as use cases come up, as we get more data, we're trying as often as we can to expose it here. So we're not only on the web with Tealium Collect, but no, we're now in the mobile app. We're not just doing daily customer file imports. Now we're doing some periodic kind of ad hoc promotional imports for, maybe modeled out customer groups or prospecting, for instance. So all of this is going into the AudienceStream ecosystem and just enabling more and more use cases for us. And we're really future-proofing the customer experience as well by avoiding third-party cookies. You'll see nowhere on here does it say cookie or third-party data source. All of this is first-party, our data, our infrastructure, building for a good future for our customer. Just a couple of other notes since we're talking first party data. Again, like I said, we're really trying to future proof our marketing stack on this. What we're going for is a highly addressable customer experience across any domain. Again, especially with the visitor stitching that AudienceStream has in place. Sometimes you have that first party data put together on one browser, but then Tealium can help bring it all together across all of the other devices that the customer has. Like I mentioned, sometimes Google Chrome changes policies, Safari, et cetera. All of these things can highly impact your marketing campaigns. We're safe from that with first-party data. All of the going-ons with the Apples and Facebooks of the world, all of their policy changes, and as they try to adjust with laws and consumer interests, we're safe from that. And it does make it a lot easier on you and your legal group as we deal with CCPA, GDPR, all of the upcoming acronyms as the states go one by one. So also let's talk Omnichannel. We've got two facets to Omnichannel, data and experiences. So like I mentioned, you've got all sorts of beautiful first-party data from all of your sources for your orchestration, right? Next level is getting that to all of your other systems. So we've all got internal systems or external vendors that don't necessarily have a connector built in, right? So Tealium's provided us with webhooks to get around this, which are fantastic. We use a ton of webhooks on Fingerhut. Also, there's some vendors that are just a bit behind, right? Some of our internal systems may be a bit behind, and sometimes we need to actually push files around. So if you simply need to get a list of customers out or some very small export of some of your data, using an S3 bucket is really quick to set up. You can run a job to it, an ongoing connection if needed, and then you can query and download it from there. push it out, however you need to get those flat files moved around. For larger scale, more formal integrations, data access is the much better option for sure. But S3 definitely works in a pinch when needed. So again, as we talk about cookies and third-party data going away, these ideas become more and more valuable because everything that you'll be moving around is first party. Finally, as a reminder about omnichannel experience, really treat AudienceStream as your experience hub. That's where we coordinate experiences, right? That's where we tell the same message to the same person. And again, tying back to our NPS discussion, this is where customer satisfaction can really come out of, as nobody wants conflicting messages in different channels bombarding them. You have the opportunity to really orchestrate here. So next level is moving good to great, but going even greater is the ability to move from what's been done and predict what will be done and anticipate it. So we are right now in the midst of launching Predict. Some of the initial models and insights that we're looking at are things like likelihood to need a promotion, likelihood to purchase, new account risk levels as we bring on new credit customers, right? These are all things that we can now take action on. So for instance, do you have a high likelihood to use a promotion code? We can get one in front of you that's of our choosing at a discount level that we like before you have to go scour the internet for it. Maybe you have a low likelihood to purchase. So we might dial back our promo messaging to you and give you a break for a bit to save us some advertising spend and save you some noise and hassle. We're also really excited to look at the risk around some of those new accounts, especially when we compare it to internal risk models that we've been doing for a long time. We think that Predict, acting in concert with all the data that we've fed into Tealium systems and then linked with the power of all the connections that we have, can really bring us next level in our CDP usage. Again, all in real time, all first party data. It will be a beautiful thing to behold. That is all I have for my presentation today. Thank you all for listening intently. I'm Ben Thomspon. Hit me up on LinkedIn at Ben Thomspon Ecom. I'd be happy to chat. And thanks to the folks from Tealium for having me today.
Awesome, Ben. Well, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you so much for sharing your story. For those of you in the audience who might not know, Ben was actually one of the first customer trips I made starting at Tealium back in 2017. So it's been pretty exciting to see your story unfold. You've had a unique and long-term Tealium story.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride. I think we've been with Tealium altogether almost a decade now. So
holy cow,
it's been fantastic.
Wow. So, you mentioned how, last time you spoke with us, it was kind of more at the beginning of your CDP journey. So I'm kind of wondering, now that you're kind of a year in and you're looking at, going predictive and kind of adding some more advanced, more highly mature activities, what was your biggest surprise launching the CDP? What kind of advice can you give people out there?
Yeah, there were a lot of surprises. I would have to say the biggest one for me was the explosion of use cases, right? Like, we started out a little nervous of like, hey, we're getting this really cool toy, but will anybody want to play with it, right? And we had some really good initial use cases that we knew, would give us ROI on it. But I think that we didn't imagine the response from our marketing organization, from our IT organization, now customer service organization, that they really wanted more of what AudienceStream could do. And it's really, like I mentioned, become kind of the central hub of a lot of what we're doing. So we started simple, think of things like cart abandon and that sort of thing, and now we've got entire communication streams that are orchestrated through there.
Oh, wow. Super cool. So how did you get the other departments so interested? Did you do a road show, or like, how did you get people so bought in on everything?
Yeah, we did. They're actually, I've given the what is CDP deck many times internally. I could probably recite it for you. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it was roadshow and just evangelizing. Hey, this is what we've got. This is what it can do. Some of it was a little more organic, right? Like as other areas saw like what we're able to do, right? Like marketing gets a big win, and maybe our credit folks or somebody is like, hey, like, can we get in on this, right? Like there's that word of mouth and sort of organic growth behind it. That was actually pretty cool.
That's really cool. So like looking back at it at this point, so you mentioned Tealium IQ, AudienceStream, and now Predict. If you had to sum up kind of the 5 steps you've taken to get where you're at, like what are those 5 steps?
Yeah, five simple steps, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, I mean, our first foray with Tealium at all was take management, right? That was step one. We needed a way to wrangle all of the tags, and we're a test heavy customer, so we're always trying different vendors, et cetera. Tag management was like the need part that came in, right? And then I think that step 2 was really the growth of tag management into a practice, right? It wasn't just like a side gig that somebody did when we needed to light up a tag. It was a value add that really helped the customer experience, really helped our business with growth, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think that once we really had tag management down, CDP was the next step in our growth of, we have this fantastic data layer. We're collecting all sorts of information about our customers, and how do we go action on that and really make good experiences and drive revenue from that. And then I think a lot of what I talked about today is the next level of that. Doing things that aren't just driving revenue, but are driving net promoter score, bringing more and more data in, et cetera. And then finally, Predict. We're super excited about machine learning and where that's going to take us next.
Very cool. Very cool. So it sounds like there were some advantages that you experienced from having tag management, like putting CDP at the top of the tag management. Sometimes some people take the opposite way. They actually start with the CDP and then go into tag management. From your perspective, what are the advantages of kind of having the two together?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that probably the fact that we had a data layer management sort of process and policy in place from tag management helped that when we put in CDP, we had really good quality data already, right? Because it was data that we were feeding to our vendors via tags. And so we didn't need to reinvent the wheel as far as data collection, because we had a good data layer in place in the first place. I think that probably second, I would say AudienceStream just stacks well with Tealium IQ in like everything from the user interface and the user's learning curve around Tealium products. It's a good next step because you understand the data collection and distribution, and AudienceStream takes it server side and kind of to a next level of decisioning.
Right. Yeah. So, one you mentioned during your presentation, one of the things that a lot of people are doing now is kind of shifting more towards first party. You've kind of done that in advance now, so you're actually probably pretty well prepared for kind of the coming shifts of 2022. Any advice out there for people looking to do a similar thing?
Yeah, I guess I would say, step into things, right? Look at the connections that you've got that are using cookies and third-party data, right? And replicate those, server side with first-party data. That will give you the best understanding, right? Because if you already know what you're doing on the third-party side and you're just translating it rather than kind of starting net new. Yep. I would also say, definitely reach out to the Tealium team. These are folks who really know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have AudienceStream, this is actually a fantastic time to get it. This is me plugging the products, everybody. Sorry.
Thank you.
They didn't pay me for this. But it really is, because it is a first party ecosystem, right? So like you mentioned, we didn't even really have to try to make this big move to first party, because we've been having this journey with CDP that is just one of the side benefits that sort of comes along with it.
Yep. Yep. So, thinking about your NPS initiative and addressing it with the CDP, I think is kind of interesting. In my mind, it's the natural connection, but I work in a certain place. So, are any other systems kind of a part of this process, or like how do you view the CDP's role in impacting NPS?
We've gotten to a point with CDP now where it touches most, if not all, of our other customer systems, right? So we've got that advantage there, because if we want to orchestrate experiences that help drive our NPS up, it's the hub, right?
Yep.
But we certainly are doing work, in our IVR and with our phone agents. We're designing certain promotions around, increasing our NPS. It doesn't stop at CDP for sure.
Right.
It's like I mentioned, it's a huge corporate initiative that's touching a lot of areas.
Okay. All right, now shifting over to ML. I think we've all probably heard one or two things about ML. Seems to be the next great thing on the market. But it is, as as a marketer, like, it's not necessarily something that I've overly done myself directly. Developed models and algorithms and all the words that sound pretty intimidating. What made you feel like you were ready for ML?
Man, well, feeling ready is maybe a misnomer. I also am not a data scientist, right? I think of myself as like a slinger of data, not the guy who's going all sciencey and algorithmic on it. But for Predict in particular, it made it really approachable for the layman, right? It's like machine learning for dummies almost. Because it sits on top of a system in AudienceStream that is already well understood at our company and by my team and me. It's sort of a logical next step for us in our ML journey.
Gotcha. All right, and to top things off here, I wanted to make sure to ask this one. Being that you are one of the grizzled Tealium veterans, out there in the world, I'm wondering what tips, for people who are just starting down this customer data road, like what advice or what things stand out to you as the most important, kind of overall.
Make very good friends with the developers who are exposing data to you, and with your legal department, because GDPR, CCPA, et cetera. That's super important. I would say, one of the things that has served me and my team well is just tinkering, right? Yeah. Like play around with that data. You can do things in dev and QA environments. Not everything has to go, out to the world. When we first started triggering push messages, they were all to my phone. So it was just my phone blowing up and not customers, right? Just play around with stuff. There's so much that you can just discover just kind of by playing around in the tools. And we've made some really great customer experiences off of stuff that just sort of started as a little experiment or something that somebody was playing with. And then I'd say too, utilize the great resources at Tealium. There's folks who really know what they're talking about. And there's a great customer community too. Lots of events, some of them in person back before that whole pandemic thing. And lots of customers who've got great use cases, and, feel free to hit me up as well. I'm always happy to chat.
Nice. Awesome. That's very kind of you, Ben. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Ben. Really interesting. I think there's a lot, to learn. I learn at something every time you talk. So I appreciate it. And thanks for joining us. And for everyone else out there, we'll wrap up here so that you can get to the next session on time, and hope you have a great rest of DV. Thanks, everyone.